Hi Gemini. Welcome to your mid-December reading. So the confusion was that I said that the entire all signs reading, the first part, the December part, it was all just a Gemini reading. That's what I meant to say, but I guess I didn't communicate it quite as well as I wanted to. That's okay. We're here now, and we have a lot to talk about, but I'll go over some of the stuff I talked about in that video as well. So Mercury and Venus have now both moved into Capricorn, and on the 21st, the Sun will move into Capricorn as well. For you, especially if you're a Gemini rising, this is a really big deal when it comes to love. It's deep intimacy, and because you are in many ways clairvoyant, you knew this was coming. You felt it. You've probably been jittery about it and just been thinking, yeah, how am I going to handle this when it shows up? And it's here, and it's quite demanding and very headstrong. For some of you, this Aries energy is a direct translation to an Aries in your life, something that has to do with the stability of your home, perhaps a central person in the home, and the truth that you need to tell to them. For others, this Aries energy represents the establishment. And what you feel needs to be brought into harmony. What truth needs to be told. So these foundational principles that you live by can be reflected in the society around you. Gemini is done playing any sort of a passive part in what happens in the world around all of us. And if that makes you laugh and you think, well, when has Gemini ever been passive? I think by comparison now, as you watch us become more and more aggressive, you'll realize that for a while we were actually being pretty good. So aside from Mars being in Gemini, what's giving us all this fire? Well, there's something to be said for being vindicated. If for a long time you've been misunderstood, but you've held fast to who you are and you know who you are, it's okay when people have misconceptions about you. It's not the end of the world. But you're still human, and it still feels good when they realize that they were wrong about you and that you're actually a good person. And that any of the ways that they might have thought you were trying to hurt them or hurt yourself, you were really just trying to get to a much larger truth. Sometimes the reason Gemini alienates everyone else is because we live in that abstraction where really difficult things become easy for us. But we sometimes forget that they're still really hard for others, even if they're just observing it. Their mirror neurons are going crazy. They can't believe what they're seeing, what they're hearing. But by mid-December, you feel a lot of stability and grounding within your within yourself, because you can see in the people around you that they really do see you for who you are. You can see it in their eyes. You can see an appreciation starting to develop even amongst those who before really had terrible concepts of who you were. Born out of jealousy, envy, sometimes so deep that they don't even know that that's where it's coming from. Regardless, this popularity is not welcome. You're not one of those people that finds this new attention pleasurable past the vindication aspect. You're vindicated and you feel great about that, but Now all of a sudden they want you to embrace this popularity and it's just not your bag. You have so many things that you are still pursuing or in the midst of finishing up that you know will bring you a lot of abundance, inshallah. So yeah, it's nice that they now know that you're much cooler than they gave you credit for, and you're as cool as you've been trying to tell them this whole time that you were. That's great that now they get it. But now this proximity to power, now they want to be around. And it's like, no, I still need my alone time. Just because now you figured out that I'm dope doesn't mean that I still don't need to be left alone. I'm in the midst of something big. And this like hanger on attention is so bad for you, and it's so much of a drain on your fuel that you need that nobody else can give you. So why everyone wants to take it from you is such a cruel mystery. But we're not here to figure out why everybody else is fucked up. We're just here to keep ourselves safe and keep it moving, right? In December, it does feel very much like those very serious doors of love are open. You feel it within yourself. Your heart is just open. You're past being scared, you're past being skeptical, you're past being angry, you're past feeling hurt or abandoned by anything that happened before. You're just done with not being in love. I don't know how else to say it. You're just like, yeah, this sucks and is boring. Let's move on to the fun part. If you make it your mission with others to compromise and move forward regardless of what's happened in the past, which is very heavy Sag energy. If you stick to this Sag energy, everything else has a way of working out. So Taurus has been asked to not be stubborn. Aries has been asked to not be stubborn. Now you are going to be asked to not be stubborn, but you've got such a better option than just not being stubborn. Stubbornness is not your natural state. You can very easily tap into this axis of your own and look across from you and say, yeah, I know exactly what it's like to be in that Sag energy. I can pull that off for the rest of, Sag season, which is not that long. And if you're able to do that, forget what impact it has on your social life or what impact it has on your self-esteem, because it will raise that, right? Just purely in terms of being able to have a sound mind and continue your work so you can make this big money, this plan that you have, this thing in your head that you have that you're not really telling anybody and nobody else should be privy to it, to be honest. Being in that Sag energy goes so far in getting you where you need to go or where you want to be, okay? So that's a big Sag secret. People think that they are the way they are because they're just, they're so friendly and they're so nice and no, that's not it at all. It's just the most efficient way to be. If you look at things from an intellectual perspective, it doesn't make sense if you got to live and work and, thrive in society to be antisocial. Just doesn't make sense. So the more you can compromise, the more you can live in the spirit of wanting to move forward and wanting to forgive and wanting to be social, the easier December is. But also it just sets you up for a really sweet new year. Because you know better than anyone that when you change the way you are, even for a couple of days, everything around you changes. The way people act with you changes, right? You've got this itch. You want to live. You've got this new ambition. You want to make some money. You want to be successful on another level. You want to level up. And not just, in terms of like love or romance no, you want to go to faraway places. You want to have fun. You want to have the kind of money to go have that fun the way you want to. Your dreams are expanding. And it makes sense. It makes sense. But keep in mind that anything that you end up doing in the external in this coming year, these dreams that are expanding that you want to act on, they're still merely just a small, slight reflection of this openness that is your personality. That's where all this fun and all this brightness in your life is stemming from. It's not you take that trip and then, oh my God, it changed my life, I feel better. It's you just feel better. You changed your life. And so you're celebrating, you're going out and traveling and looking great and, cultivating whatever interests you have. It's you that's making these things brighter. It's not the other way around. We're done with that feedback loop that we got stuck in. We've switched it back around, right? And yes, it's a very difficult thing to reset. And some of us have taken some very extreme routes in getting there, or some of us were in such deep holes that we needed to take extreme measures to get out of that, right? But it's the nature of your ambition that's also changed. You don't want the things you used to want. Yeah, you want to make a lot of money, but not for the same reasons, not because you want to buy a Murcielago and, roar down Sunset. I don't know who would want to do that. Not me. I'm talking about me. No, it's different now. It's different. Mars and Gemini connected you so deeply to what's going on out there and in here, and you just see the world, your purpose, everything so differently. And that's going to keep putting you at odds. Excuse me. It's going to keep putting you at odds with a lot of people. The Capricorn, the Leo, the Libra, the Cancer. Of course. But what you have to remember, and this is your power, and as long as you don't forget this, things get better and better. The only reason people fight so hard to get us to think like them, to get us to conform, is because they want to possess us. Not because they want us to be one more nail that gets hammered down, like they say in Japan. It's not that. It's not that they just want us to conform and then they'll just move forward. It's something much more personal than that. And I hope this is as motivating as I want it to be. There is a certain pleasure they get in you specifically being the nail that's getting hammered down. Now, I know that you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the saying, let's start from the beginning. Let me go back a little bit. The saying in Japan is the nail that is sticking up is the one that gets hammered down. It's a way to illustrate a larger cultural norm of, conform. And if you don't conform, you call to yourself a kind of attention that is aggressively oppressive, and it hurts. Okay? You call to yourself the wrong kind of attention, let's say that. Now, in and of itself, that's scary to begin with. But what if I added a personal element to it? Because that's standard. That's general, right? What if I told you that some nails, the hammer takes special pride in putting down? What if I told you that there are certain nails when they put themselves in the position to be hammered down, create a lot of pleasure for those who would take our voice, our freedom from us? It's more than just conform. It's you who are smart enough to know that you shouldn't conform. You who are smart enough to know what we're doing. You must conform. You who know what's going on and are smart enough to piece together what's going on, you must conform. And I think the cumulative effort that you've been making, the cumulative effort, the buildup of all the effort that you've been making this past year, working on yourself, working on your surroundings, cleaning stuff out, making bigger and bigger plans, leveling up the look, just like light work for us. We do this stuff all the time. But the cumulative effort really has put you in a different self-esteem space. When you see that particular pleasure in people who just want to break you, just to break, there's something in you that's just not allowing it. Even if you get benefit from it, even if you have in the past just swallowed your pride and looked the other way and allowed people to get their kicks off of robbing you of your agency, for some reason now you just can't. Well, it's not for no reason. Jupiter moves into Aries on the 20th, and you know what that means. Listen, for Gemini rising, that's your 11th house. You don't have time anymore. You're just like, I'm too strong for this. I don't know why I put up with this for so long, but you know what? I'm not going to beat myself up over it. But how have I been in this emotional chokehold? For how long? And it was staring me in the face and I just didn't notice. You just completely change your focus too with work, your trajectory for work. You just completely from one day to the next, you're like, okay, well, I have these big ambitions here. And if this is what you're going to be in my life, then you just need to, you know what I mean? And people, under the guise of making money with you, will try to pull you into all kinds of schemes and scams. You got to be really careful right now with the schemes and scams. People who can't come out and just tell you that they don't fuck with you, they're going to try so hard to pull you into some sort of situation in another way. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are people who like to keep their own hands clean, but they'll get other people to pull you in, or they'll bring around an offer that's not actually good for you. So how do you deal with that situation when you have so much big love energy and you could really be out here meeting somebody very important, but also at the same time you have these fans and schemers and scammers also all being attracted to you, right? Like flies to honey. Or is it flies to shit? I don't know. Like bees to honey. There you go. How do you discern the difference? How do you, how can you tell? Well, it's really easy. And I love the cards for their sense of humor, I gotta say. It's really easy. You know how you can tell? It's pretty simple. You can tell what you should pursue and who you should stay away from simply by how much progress they're making in their own life. If someone is like a abandoned construction site waiting for somebody else to come by and be the foreman and get people working and get things moving, that's just not for you anymore, Gemini. And I'm not saying there wasn't a time where it was for you. Yes, there was. But not anymore. Not anymore, because anyone who would be any kind of prospect in your life right now has to show you in no uncertain terms that they're moving at the same speed that you're at, that they're in the same bracket that you're in, because you're not just looking for, not to be cynical, but you're not just looking for love. You're looking for partnership. And I think Gemini are really good at knowing the difference and understanding the distinction. Love is great. We've had love. We've lost love. We've, along the way, yeah, we have. We've done all that. But I think when you get to a certain place within yourself where you really, really like yourself, but you also like your choices, you like the things that you've done, you can look back at your body of work, you can look back at your behaviors as a set, as a life lived, and you can be proud of yourself, and you can be happy with yourself, and you can laugh at yourself, and you feel that your actions have created an accurate record of who you are as a person. So basically, when you can look back, or if you can look at your present and you know that your morality and your ethics are in line with your actions. So what's the difference between morality and ethics? So morality is like, your relationship to other human beings, what the laws of man, so to speak. And then ethics is your relationship with God. The things that are right or not right, the things how things should be or shouldn't be. When you can look at your life and your morality and your ethics has been cultivated, and your actions, when you objectively, and again, something Gemini are very good at, when your actions can be objectively looked at, observed, and they match up. Ooh, that's a strong person. That's someone who's so hyper aware of their value that it's no longer a conversation. It's no longer something that has to be brought up or reiterated or even stated at all. It would be like stating that the sky is blue. It's so obvious that it would be passé to mention it. Whenever I talk about anything that has that tone to it, I'm always reminded. I went to dinner with a bunch of my friends, and I went to the bathroom, and this guy at an adjacent table came over to my friend Jason and said, "My God, your friend is so beautiful." And Jason said, "Well, can you be a little more original than that?" Like, yeah, but... And I think that that's where we are. We are past being impressed with ourselves. We're past making other people see us and be impressed with us. We're past wanting a seat at the table, if you want to get real honest about it. We don't want the seat at the table anymore. We've decided that we don't like the fucking table. We don't like not only do it, we used to think that we could get a seat at the table, and then we could talk to the people sitting at the table and maybe figure out who should be at the table and who shouldn't be at the table, and maybe have some change, maybe affect some change from the inside. And, that's where the initial change begins. And boy, the last few months, we're like, you know what? This table is trash. You know what? Fuck this table. Fuck this table and these chairs and these people. I don't want anything to do with any of this. I'm out. And collectively, at first, at the beginning of the month, it was like people don't seem to be on the same page with us. Oh no, that's painful. What should we do? This feels weird. We are the sign that connects with everyone. So for people not to be on the same page with us is whack. Now, as always happens with us, and it happens very quickly, way quicker than anyone expects, now we're like, actually, you know what? Since I had a minute to think about it, I don't really fuck with you. I'm glad we're not on the same page, because the page that you're on, I had to look at it. I took a look at the page you're on, and I decided that we definitely shouldn't be on the same page. You're right. We are not on the same page, and you're right about that. That is known to most people as the Gemini switch. But we'll talk about that more in the extended, which we'll get into right now. I love you. That'll be on Patreon.